Hello, everybody. I am so excited to introduce Samantha Stelk with us today. She is a self-love and sexual empowerment coach. Welcome to the podcast Transcend, Samantha.
Thank you so much, Jami, for having me. It's a pleasure.
I'm glad you're here. I'm super excited about this conversation. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do.
So as you mentioned, I'm a self-love and sexual empowerment coach with a trauma-informed background. And really, in essence, what I help women do is heal sexual trauma. And then I help them reprogram and transform disempowering beliefs that are stuck in living in the body. I teach them how to self-pleasure in a really healing, conscious, and sacred way. Because for me, that has been the most powerful healing modality that I have encountered and used to quite literally transform my own life and my own relationship to my body and my sexual energy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, the world needs more of that for sure, especially when there's so much shame and guilt around this area.
Yes, so
Definitely.
shame, guilt, and repression over thousands of years. And I'm really passionate about this too, because all of that has been living in the collective also lives within our own bodies, and how a generation is passed down through our ancestry as well, literally through our DNA. And so their experiences have been passed down to their children and our mothers' mothers. And so what I love about this work too is when we're healing this energy in our relationships to our bodies, we heal our relationship to our families and our lineage as well. So it's really, really deep, powerful work, but it's some of the most beautiful, pleasurable, once there is definitely a transitional period where it can be challenging or sticky, and the core and the essence of the work that I do, it's just really about coming home to oneself, befriending oneself, and learning to cultivate radical compassion. I love compassion for being a human.
Yes, absolutely. Oh,
And
that's beautiful.
yeah,
I love that.
and normalizing it too, because I think the shame, when we're holding shame around something, it just goes deeper into our subconscious, and its hold over us becomes stronger, and it's harder to get out of the shame. But by talking about it, by being in community with other women, is also really powerful. It's a big part of my work as well, because that helps to release the shame and some of the guilt around these things. And we can see that a lot of these things are universal and common and shared among many, many women. And so we feel lighter in, and also being able to talk about these things helps to lift some of that hold that I was speaking to.
That's awesome. I'm curious, what got you started in this line of work?
Yeah, so definitely healing my own sexual trauma and my relationship to my body. Especially in the Western world, but I grew up in California, and the age of like the Victoria's Secret models, and I never felt good enough. Like I grew up with this lingering sense of inadequacy and just slight body dysmorphia as well, and just really being at war with myself, at war with my body, and never fully accepting these different parts of me. And it's still a journey today, because that conditioning is so thick. and it's all pervasive. Like we see it everywhere on media, social media, especially now, television, you name it.
Yeah.
And so it's really a lot of this work, it's about cultivating a lifelong practice and building this relationship to oneself, because we have to have that understanding, that recognition that we're dealing with a lot of messages and patriarchal messages about how women's bodies should look, and that if you don't look that way, then there's something wrong with you. or you won't find love, or you're not worthy of love. So
Mm.
those messages were really prominent for me, and they still linger occasionally. I'm not gonna pretend like I am like totally free of all of that. That's
Yeah,
an
I wonder
illusion,
if
but
those inner voices ever really do go away. We just learn to cooperate with them.
yeah, I totally agree. It's not about getting rid of the shame necessarily, or getting rid of these voices. It's just learning how to come into loving and nourishing relationship with them,
Mhm.
learning how to reparent ourselves and how to
Yeah.
hold ourselves, like this deep holding that this work requires. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So what
Mm.
does a session with you look like, or what does work with you look like?
Yeah, so it's a combination. I have a 3-month program called Sensual Metamorphosis, and this is an online course where I literally guide you to building trust and safety with your body, and then learning how to activate and cultivate your sexual energy for self-healing, essentially.
Wow.
And then in our one-on-one sessions, it's more therapeutic. We go into the consciousness of the body mind connection, and learning again, how I was saying, how to hold yourself, doing inner child work, learning how to reparent yourself. And it's amazing how much intelligence the body has.
Oh, for
And
sure.
yeah, there's a reason why our culture and our society is set up for us to be disconnected from our bodies. Um, and so we're bridging that gap in our sessions between the conscious and the subconscious, and learning how to reclaim and come into right relationship to these different parts of ourselves that have been denied, rejected, suppressed,
Mm.
and learning how to just witness them without judgment or criticism, but also working with boundaries, not giving them our power. So it's like, I see you, I hear you, I acknowledge you. And also, I'm going to choose to give my power to this more compassionate, empowered voice.
I love that. I
Yeah,
imagine that could end up filtering into actual relationships with other people too. You learn those excellent tools on how to have a healthy relationship with yourself. Like those are all the tools you need to have a healthy relationship with a partner.
100 million percent. Yeah.
And I imagine your clients see that too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everything begins with you. And no matter where you're at, if you're single or in a relationship or even in a partnership for a long time, I really advocate for having your own self pleasure practice and having this really sacred time for yourself to connect to yourself in this way. When you open up and heal your sacral chakra, your sexuality, you open up your voice, you're able to access your truth and to speak your truth, and to learn how to advocate for healthy boundaries. And then, yeah, if you're able to hold this really strong, loving, accepting presence for yourself, it makes it so much easier to do that for your partner, your family, friends, even if you don't necessarily always agree with them. So we're never always going to see eye to eye with people, but learning how to hold both, and like learning how to hold these different parts of people, because we're all have experienced some form of trauma.
Hmm.
So that's where we can hold each other with compassion. And compassion doesn't always mean tolerance.
No.
Differentiating between the two. So yeah,
Yeah.
it always comes back to compassion. I feel
It
like
sure does. And I do think there's probably a lot of misunderstanding about what the definition of that is. Because, like you said, it doesn't mean tolerance. The compassion is that deeper empathy for one another.
absolutely.
But boundaries are so important.
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah,
cultivating those strong boundaries, I think, goes a long way well, I've definitely found that it goes a long way in relationships with others, but I really feel like it's important to put more attention on that for the relationship with the self.
yeah, yeah. We have to have boundaries with ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. Um, so yeah, so how long have you been practicing this, or we're doing this kind of work?
Since 2019.
Okay, so still fairly new, but
Yes.
yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I've been preparing a little bit longer than that, but definitely I grew up, I didn't have a relationship to myself, to a self-pleasure practice myself. I did have sex at a young age, but it was very from a disempowered place, wanting to receive love and affirmation from another. But it wasn't a very enjoyable experience looking back. Like there's so much more beyond those experiences that I was having. And I didn't know that at the time because I had nothing to compare it to. But I wasn't able to orgasm at all with a partner. And later in my 20s, I tried to self-pleasure a little bit more like masturbation because it wasn't as conscious, and still had a very hard time feeling good in my body at all, and still a very hard time orgasming by myself. And then I did a year-long coaching program where we use a glass dildo about 5 days a week in the beginning for a few months. And that's why I'm a huge advocate for the glass dildo, because it's such a powerful tool to access certain points in depths within your own being. And it brings up a lot. And that's that active practice of being able to hold yourself. And through that, I've been able to have multiple orgasms, extended orgasms, full body orgasms. There's just so much more that we as women can access. There's this incredible, there's been a few, like with Goop, what Goop's doing on Netflix, and then there's another series about pleasure right now. But it breaks my heart how so many women aren't able to access these depths. They don't even know that it's possible or how to
they probably don't know it's in there. And
right.
I would imagine that's probably an accumulation of all the shame and the guilt that's been built up around not just self-pleasure, but sex in general. I mean, women have been stifled throughout the ages.
Yes.
And I think a lot of the wrong connotations have been put around it as well. And I think there's just a lot of confusion across the board where people probably know deep down that there's more to this, but there's so much to battle just from their conditioning or their upbringing or just generational patterns.
Yeah. The peeling of layers and layers of conditioning, societal, religious. Yeah, it's deep. And the powers that be saw how powerful women were who were in right relationship to their bodies and their sexual energy. And so they have wanted to control and manipulate that. And it's no surprise why there's been so much conditioning and stigma and shame around female pleasure, females' bodies, and female sexuality. So it really feels like that consciousness is coming alive again at this time, which is so beautiful to be a part of.
It is beautiful. I've definitely noticed a shift myself, but having this conversation with you too, and I'm sure there's other coaches out there that do something similar to you, but it's interesting how I've actually come across this concept of working with people to develop better relationships with themselves, and not just sexual health in the biological sense or the physical sense, but in the energetic sense. Like that's been coming up more and more lately. And it's like, I'm seeing a movement happening here.
Yeah. Our energetic bodies are being awakened.
Yes. They're ready to come alive.
Because there's some people I love in my life, but I've seen them and it's like they're almost like walking zombies, almost like the life force is not there. And so this really helps to reawaken that life force energy and your feminine radiance and your feminine power.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
Out to all the women out there who haven't had access to this. And that's what was the shift for me. I could see that in other women when I was living in Hawaii, when I went to college, and I was like, there's something there. Like I want to be a part of this. I want to access it. And I'm so eternally grateful for being led on this path.
Yeah.
That's
definitely more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So do you just work with women, or do you work with couples, work with men?
I work primarily with women, and I would love to work with couples separately. So like work with couples with just the woman and the man and help them do their own inner work so that when they come together, um, feel more authentic, more vulnerable, more empowered
Yeah.
to into that really empowered, loving relationship with one another.
Yeah, I definitely believe that a lot of healing needs to be done for men as well. I mean, in a totally, well, in similar ways, but in different ways too. I mean, there's just a lot of generational patterns and conditioning that has kind of created a lot of toxicity in this area for men that I think they could be opened up to a lot more of their own internal power, just like women as well, if they did that healing.
Yeah, my partner, we've been together 2 years and he just started doing, well, he's in the last month of a 3-month embodied king course with this amazing man named Ian Wilkes, I believe. I can introduce you to him. But yeah, men definitely need these healing spaces. I feel for men too, just because of all their conditioning around not feeling their emotions or being connected to their feminine side.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how
they're
much
taught to
that,
repress it.
yeah, I can't,
Yeah.
we have our own stuff, but as female bodies, but at least, we're just geared to be in community and relationship more. We have more spaces
Mhm.
available to us, but that is also shifting and changing,
Yeah,
thankfully.
it definitely is. And it just comes full circle too, because again, it's that relationship with yourself. And once it's healed and once it's right, no matter whether you're man, woman, whatever, if you're right with yourself and in a healthy place with yourself, then all of your relationships are more likely to reflect that.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been beautiful. A lot of my clients, just the healing they've had around spontaneously around with their families. Like
Oh, nice.
one of my clients was able to have really vulnerable conversations with their mom about their period and their struggles with
Mm.
their period growing up, and her mom had never had these conversations with anyone before. And another client who had an alcoholic mother and father was able to really have a conversation with her father and express some boundaries and share her hurts, and that was really empowering for her because she never felt able to or capable prior. And so yeah, it's just really beautiful to see the chain reactions that I didn't expect at first.
Yeah, that is really amazing how everything is interconnected. That you can heal one part of yourself and then it creates that chain reaction to heal other areas of your life too.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I noticed how my brother in particular has softened in the way that he relates to me, because we've had a really kind of tough relationship, I would say. And so yeah, it's been nice for him to like see me for who I am now, not for who I was as a
Yeah.
high schooler. um yeah, it's really
That's
beautiful.
awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Mm.
I'm trying to remember something else I was going to ask you, but my train of thought went somewhere else. So if you can think of something, you can fill in the blank.
Well,
um,
I have I'm really excited because I have a beautiful retreat, my first in-person retreat. I hold space online, and I'm doing a series this month in Santa Cruz, a live workshop series, but in May, the 15th through the 21st, I'm doing a Goddess Odyssey retreat. It's a
wow.
7 days, 6 nights. It's going to be an initiation in the Tao Tantric arts, and
Wow.
we'll be doing embodiment, feminine reclamation, pleasure reclamation practices. My co-facilitator is also doing one night of a plant ceremony. So that will be really powerful. And it's at this gorgeous mansion with a beautiful pool outside of LA.
Awesome.
So I'm really, really excited to be in physical contact in the flesh with other women doing this work, because it's been mostly online, but it's so healing and transformative to be in person.
Yeah. Oh, that's so exciting. So
Yeah.
are you taking participants for that right now, or is that sold out?
Yes, I am taking participants right now.
All
There's
right.
14 spaces.
Okay, cool. We'll
Oh,
definitely link that below so people can find you. And if that's something that interests them, definitely get on board with that. That sounds amazing.
yeah, I've been working hard on it for like 5 months. So it's nice to see it being like birthed out into the world. And I just finished the website for it, and I love doing that. It's just
Wonderful.
another way to express my creativity.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. Will you be hosting more of these in the future?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
Hoping
Yeah,
to put on a lot of them.
that's awesome. Yeah, people definitely have to keep their eyes and ears out for that. I
Yeah.
love how much healing is coming out of what you do too. It just is making me think of my own career as a massage therapist, and how I've always
Mhm.
seen that these physical ailments and the people that I work with would probably be healed a lot quicker if they'd work on their emotional or energy body. It was so much physical problems arise because something has not been healed within their emotions, and a lot of that is repressed guilt or shame or anger or resentment, or so many things that have happened in their past or that they've been brought up with that you hold within your body. And when you can finally release that physical hold it has on your body, it's amazing what opens up for you.
Yeah, massage therapy is really important for women to have that safe touch, and then they can heal and reprogram their relationship to touch. I'm reading a book called You Are a Goddess by this woman named Sophia, and she also mentions in the book how important having touch, healing touch, is for women to reprogram our relationship to experiencing touch. And we do some tantric body massage that's non-sexual. There's a
Mhm.
practice called skin de-armoring where it's like a feather like touch, your palm of your hand is just floating kind of on their skin.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just again a way to neutralize touch and to reclaim its innocence.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I think you would be into that stuff.
I might have to check that out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you would like to share, or any other thoughts that you have?
Yeah, a big part of my work is about creating intention. For those of you out there, I invite you to, if this is calling to you, to get really clear on your intention. Like, why do you want to heal your relationship to your body or your sexual energy? Because when life gets really busy, or even why you want to connect with your pleasure, I know you're a mom. There's a lot of moms out there, and women just give, and we have a tendency to be people pleasers and to deplete ourselves to give for others. So learning how to infuse pleasure throughout your day, even in micro ways, even if it's just like stopping for a moment and like caressing the skin on your face, or just taking some few deep belly breaths, or drinking your morning coffee really slow, or even when you're like looking in the mirror, just stopping for a moment and telling yourself that you love or appreciate yourself. And so, because life can be so busy and chaotic, to be clear on your why, and that will help you act, it will act as a lighthouse, as a guiding force, so that you can come back to pleasure and celebration of life. Because I ultimately, that's why we're here, is to,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I love that. And yeah, you brought up being a mother. Oh my gosh, there's so much trauma involved in bringing a child into the world too.
Mm,
A lot of which I think women don't really pause and acknowledge. I did have a very traumatic experience with my first son, bringing him to the world, like
mhm,
bad enough that, yeah, it was very obviously traumatic for me. But my second son was born at home the way
mm,
I wanted, but labor was hard and it was an intense
mhm.
experience. And even though I technically got the experience that I wanted to get, it was still kind of a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
It didn't have as much of a deep hold on me. In fact, it really didn't have a deep hold on me. I didn't have nearly any of the issues that I had recovering from my first son's birth, but it still was something I needed to acknowledge and honor. Like, wow, my body really went through something. And I know people in the hospital system, oh my gosh, so much work needs to be done. And I'm seeing movements too. There's a lot of hospitals that are starting to get birthing centers that are more conscious and trying to stay away from that clinical medical field and allowing the body to do what it's meant to do to bring this child into the world. But prior to, and still in other areas, there's so much disempowerment for women who are bringing a child into the world. And
Right.
I think that has a lot of residual effects sexually, pleasurably, in any area of life.
Right. Absolutely. I feel like so much of our suffering is stemmed from our disconnection from nature and
Mhm.
from our wild selves, our primal selves. Like my dog is pregnant, and
Aw.
but it made me think that, how animals are so incredible, how they just know and remember. It's
Yeah.
and a part, like I mentioned, a part of that is being away from having community, having ritual, having support. We mothers need support, and
So
that,
much.
yeah, and so much of that information and that wisdom has been taken from us, and again starting to come online again. And it's wonderful to see that reflected, like in hospitals having more holistic birthing centers. But yeah, acknowledging, wow, first, yeah, our bodies are freaking amazing. Women are so strong.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of my clients, she had a lot of trauma around one of her births because she didn't have the tools or the knowledge or the support. And she felt like she ate very unhealthy, which caused some complications during the birth. And we did a lot of healing around that because she was holding so much guilt towards herself and resentment towards herself because yeah, just of some complications that happened. But learn that's where like compassion and acknowledging those different parts of us, because yeah, trauma can be emotional, it can be psychological, it could be physical, like a physical trauma from a birth as well, and the emotional implications that might have. So reaching, that's why having support and community to like talk about these things and to be held and guided through a healing process is really important and needed for us.
Absolutely. And healthy support. I mean, and I think that's why it's so important for everyone to do this level of work so that you have the tools not only within yourself, but then to reciprocate back to somebody else who needs that support as they're growing in their journey.
Yeah, we see that a lot. I love how people are making their mess, quote unquote, their medicine. And then how, I truly believe we do go through these certain initiations through our lives so that we can be able to embody that transformation and then gift it and share it to other people.
Absolutely. I love that your mess is your medicine.
Yeah.
It's so true. I mean, all of the terrible things or difficult things that ever happened to us are all such powerful learning experiences to just make us better.
Yeah. It's hard when you're going through the gauntlet, going through the fire.
Mhm.
But on the other end, there is, I mean, even through it, there's just so much beauty and so much grace. And yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Oh,
Awesome. All right, we covered a lot of really great ground. I really hope that this reaches a lot of people and inspires people, or at least gets the gears turning. I think
mhm,
there's probably a lot of people who've been too afraid to even think about this kind of thing,
mm,
just because of the suppressed emotions or the guilt or the shame or the fear. There's definitely a lot of fear around it too, from just generations of conditioning. So hopefully this gets some gears turning, gets people to think a little bit more about their own relationship with themselves and their own sexuality and their own experience with what pleasure means to them. And yeah, puts away some of that fear so that they can really address it and live a fuller life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what
Yeah.
you said really resonated, 'cause it's like the fear will always be there. Again, acknowledging the fear, learning how to hold that, and also choosing, following your intuition, your turn on, following what lights you up, what brings you joy in the face of fear, in the face of challenges. And I love what you said too about pleasure, reclaiming what that means for you, what empowerment means for you. You're the creator of your life. You get to design it however you want. And
Yes.
this is that process of coming home and learning what is true for you, and letting your desires lead your life in a really beautiful way.
Yes, I love that. It's too often we're told what is right or what is wrong, what is good or what is bad. And within reason, there are good and there are bad, but ultimately for our own self and what brings us pleasure, that's for us to decide.
Yes.
Yeah. I love
Yes.
that.
Thank
Awesome.
you so much.
Well, this has been a really fantastic conversation. And like I said, I really hope this got some gears turning for people. And definitely, if this resonated with you, please reach out to Samantha. And is there anything else you wanted to share about your coaching before we part ways? That way people are aware of what all you do offer, because you said your retreat, your program, and your one-on-one coaching, correct?
Yeah, so sensual metamorphosis can either be done just with me, the program, and one-on-one coaching, and sometimes I run it with a group. So there's different options and different tiers in which you can get involved, because some people may not feel ready for the group, or some people may not feel ready for the one-on-one. So I give you options, but just feel free to reach out with me. I love to have a conversation, get to know people, and just connect. My Instagram is Love Legacy Coaching, and my website is also lovelegacycoaching.com.
Excellent. And that will be linked below too, along with any other information that you need to get in touch with Samantha and to set up coaching or learn more about her programs.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It's been really a pleasure, and I hope to get to know you more. Thank you for Ziza for introducing.
Yes, I'm very grateful for that too. I love how everyone's been brought together and all these connections have been made. I've been meeting some really great people. All right. Well, thank you so much, Samantha. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom with everyone.
Thank you, Jamie. You as well. It's beautiful what you have here.
Thank you. All right. Take care.